I am an old gamer now. I've been playing video games ever since I was 3 years old, and even as a child I could identify that I would be playing video games for the rest of my life. But now, at 27 years old, I find myself missing something that I once had when playing a new game. Do you remember the very first adventure game you ever played? Do you remember the types of questions that you would ask yourself when playing them? What's underneath this lake? What's behind this waterfall? What's in this cave? You had a genuine curiosity for what the game had in store. And I would honestly say that I kept that feeling throughout my early teen years. But moving on into my late teen years and into my 20s, I found myself less intrigued. I began to stop thinking like a child and started to think about the video games I was playing from a developer standpoint. I could already guess that nothing would be down a certain path or in a building. You look at the game with such a cold and calculated stare. Even games that I thought would grab my attention with their fantastic lore and environments were no match for my aging expectations. A game as mystifying as Destiny 2 with its fleshed out story and mysterious universe just couldn't grab my attention. When I would see the sprawling landscapes of Destiny 2, not once was I wondering what was in store for me. The questions that I would frequently ask myself in my youth no longer came to mind. I find myself saddened by this realization. Where has the childlike wonder and fun gone? And is it even possible to get it back? I want to give a detailed background of my history and what games really brought out that childlike wonder for me. It's difficult to look back and accurately remember what the very first game was, but I think it would have to go to Metal Gear Solid 1. Shout out to my dad for buying 7-year-old me a rated M game. I do remember pointing to it behind the glass at a Target, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "That game is rated M." I still told him I wanted it, and lucky for me, he was the cool dad and picked it up. Of course, the first thing that really caught my attention was the fact that voices were coming out of the characters. Being a 7-year-old though, everything was going above my head. But that didn't matter. I could gather that there was a sense of importance and high stakes in the balance. The briefing cutscene took far too long for my short attention span, so naturally I had no idea what the objective of the game was. The defining moment was when I came across the first guard. Now I come from a background of Super Mario. My very first games were Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Star. Now obviously I've played many games on my way to the PlayStation era, but none of them had a complex stealth system like Metal Gear Solid 1. So what does dumb 7-year-old Chris do? Instantly walk into the guard not knowing how to attack the enemy. I die, and the iconic game over screen plays for me for the very first time. The Colonel is yelling, and Snake isn't responding. I was floored. I had played so many games and seen so many game over screens, but this one really stopped me. My attention couldn't have been more focused on this game. The icing on the cake was when you see the DARPA chief die for literally no reason. I was so confused, and my mind was racing to try and figure out what had caused his death. I was hooked. I wanted to beat this game, figure out what it was about, and nothing was going to stop me from doing that. Except for figuring out Meryl's codec number. The point I'm trying to make is that the game had a mystery. What is Snake going to do? Why did the chief die? Will Johnny get married to Meryl? The childlike wonder was at maximum capacity, and I'm willing to bet that for most of us, we don't think this way when it comes to our new games. So we've established what it means to experience childlike wonder. We know that it can revolve around the mystery that the game establishes. And I recognize that this is a matter of opinion, so games that didn't pique my childlike wonder could have piqued it for you. I have to establish though that there is a difference between plain curiosity and genuine childlike wonder. Curiosity is the feeling we get when we're trying to gather clues in LA Noire because we want to find the killer. But childlike wonder is complete infatuation of the world and the story it has to tell. Which you could totally feel for LA Noire, but I'm betting that most people were playing that game with a straight face just trying to get to the end of the maze. The next major title in my history was Mega Man Legends. One of the lesser loved Mega Man titles, but the mystery established by its intro already worked the game onto my good side. Now, at least for the PS1 era, this game is what I'd like to call open world. And I would like to compare it to an open world game that people play today. Let's take Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, it has 2 sprawling open world maps with Africa and Afghanistan. How many people can honestly say that when they saw those maps, they wanted to explore every last corner? I know I wasn't thinking that, and I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and say that the oversaturation of open world games might have dulled down my interest. Nevertheless, when I would see the dungeon maps of Mega Man Legends, I wanted to explore everything, and I would actually stay up late and wake up early just to progress farther. That is true childlike wonder. But eventually, I hit rock bottom. It was probably during the tail end of the PS3 era. Even though that era brought us amazing titles like the Uncharted trilogy, The Last of Us, Dishonored, Deus Ex Human Revolution, the list goes on, I fell into what I like to call the multiplayer loop. A phase in my gaming life that still exists today, but I try my best to fight it off. Basically, it's when you find yourself only playing online multiplayer games. And at the time, those games consisted of Metal Gear Solid 4's online, Resident Evil 5's online, and a mixture of other competitive shooters. Your day begins, you go to work, you come home, you take a shower, eat some food, and then jump into the multiplayer world every day of the week for months, maybe even years. And at the end of it all, you find no real accomplishment, no real progression, no satisfaction. A lot of people will disagree with me on this, but essentially, all you've been doing this whole time is wasting your time. Of course, how you spend your time is up to you, but speaking from experience, there's no real pleasure to be had. It is a quick fix, if you will. But there's something to be said about diving into an unfamiliar world that legitimately grabs you and keeps you interested the entire way. When you go to sleep at night, you think about waking up just to play some more. When you're at work, you think about leaving early just to play some more. When you're spending time with other people, you think about wrapping it up just to play some more. I feel like childlike wonder is tied to all of these actions. I definitely don't think about my multiplayer games when I'm sleeping at night or when I'm spending time with friends or when I'm stuck at work. Essentially, they are time wasters no different than television or completing a crossword puzzle. While I was in my multiplayer loop, I lived from moment to moment. Helping random strangers in Resident Evil 5 story mode was fun to me, but in the end, what do I have to show for it? With all of my time spent playing the co-op, I would say that I only retained 2 friends, and even today I don't communicate with them as much as I'd like to. So what does that mean? The cold, hard truth is that it was all a waste of my time. Now, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy yourself in the moment, but when I say waste of time, I mean you won't look back fondly on multiplayer match 200 of whatever game. When I look back 20 years from now, will I remember all the strangers I've helped or all the multiplayer matches I've played? Will they even matter to me? What memories will remain 20 years from now? The games that piqued my childlike wonder and had a lasting effect on me. Now, let's talk about the lasting effect. What I mean by that is the game literally changes your life. For me, that lasting factor was with Final Fantasy VIII. Growing up, I was quite the awkward kid, so it turned me into a bit of a loner in school. When I came across Final Fantasy VIII's main protagonist, Squall Leonhardt, I felt a connection with how he behaved. He had a hard time making friends and fitting in, and liked to be alone. So I gravitated towards that personality. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The character was what made me look at Final Fantasy VIII, but what made me stay was its world. Balamb Garden, the assassination mission, the train mission, the Ragnarok, the compression of time. I still think about all of those things to this day. Not only did that game shape my personality, but it stuck with me throughout all of these years. I can't say that for the multiplayer games I've played as much as I enjoyed them. As a quick side note, I'd like to throw in one more thing that had a lasting effect on me. Emma's death still haunts me to this day. Add Otacon's reaction after he had a moment alone, and I literally can't handle it. This is what makes its mark. The day I first saw this, I actually stopped playing and legitimately sat in a corner and sulked, wishing that Emma had never died. Now fast forward to 2017. It had been quite a long time since I had felt that childlike wonder. I was in a multiplayer loop with a different set of video games, and honestly, if you ask me to remember any event between 2013 and 2016, I can't pinpoint any of them. But one fateful day, nothing but an eye, a light source, and breathing. Notice that there's no music playing either. It's eerie, unsettling, and most importantly, mysterious. But then... are those buildings? Is this whole planet just one building? I've never seen anything quite like this in any of the video games I've played. And yet again... What is this place? Who built this? Where is everybody? I had so many questions and nothing to give me answers. This game literally jump-started that childlike wonder that I had been missing for so long. In the first hour of Echo, I'm already intrigued and glued to the screen. As you progress further into this game, you'll notice that the lights have a special function. You guys need to see what this looks like. There is nothing quite like seeing those lights shut off. There's something so intense about it all. But there's a catch here. I haven't actually beaten the game. And to be honest, I'm a bit scared to go back and reach the ending. I actually fear that whatever the ending has to offer won't live up to its mystery. If you've ever watched Super Bunny Hop's Metal Gear Solid critical close-up videos, he states it perfectly. For an entire series, the mystery of who are the Patriots plagued the minds of gamers for years, only to be given an answer that was not only odd, but kind of stupid. I won't spoil that answer here, but take my word for it, it was a dumb answer. This is exactly what I feel will be supplied for the ending of Echo. Some things are better left unsolved. Although I've been missing childlike wonder for years, it's not impossible to relish in that phenomenon once more.